Hey, I did put the video. I did go back in and put "We Seek, We Finds" video in my video.
Her comment, of course,
Just like I said I would, but I always forget. So I put it down in the comments there, and it's in the description. Now I left out the Buffalo Bills. Now it would be interesting if they had the Buffalo Bills win the Super Bowl because of the movie Silence of the Sheep or Silence of the Lambs. And so of course that would be extremely interesting. One thing I left out, again, Michael's research was fascinating. I forgot to include this video.
Where they know who Dad is, they've been able to see him.
It's funny, she's looking at the chocolate product. I actually purchased that yesterday at Publix. It's that's chocolate. I buy that brand of chocolate. It's called Theo. You can't really see it there. Mine, the one I do, is dark chocolate and salt. Theo, 70% dark chocolate and salt. That's what I buy. Are they trolling me that deeply? I mean, like, what? Are you kidding me? I bought that yesterday. I eat it every night. After a meal, I'll eat one chunk or two on the weekends. And that's what she's looking at. I recognize that thing. Nobody else probably on TV even knows what she's looking at unless you buy the product. And I do. I know what that product is. She's like, man, this is good. What is it? That's what I eat every night. Trolls. And it looks like it might be the one with salt. The one that I buy. Because it's the yellow in the almond. I've got that one. I've got a few of these. I pass them out at work. I don't celebrate Christmas. So around January 8th, maybe the 10th, I don't know, the 12th, I brought in chocolates for everybody in the office because they all exchanged gifts during the holidays and I didn't. So it's just, you know, hey, I don't want y'all to think I'm a cheapskate, kind of like what I did with my grandson, hook him up later. And, but if you look at the one, it looks like it's shaded green. It's got the yellow on the side. So maybe it's maybe hers is the salted almond that she's looking at. Her looks like what she's looking at is the salted almond. But I thought it was fascinating that, of course, Brady is Trump. And what they said was his afterlife, what he'll be doing in the afterlife, because Trump will die, but like Palpatine will be alive, running the red horse, black horse, pale horse.
Where they know who Dad is, they've been able to see him. I mean, he's got a million things he can do in life and the afterlife. But do you walk the way you want?
He's got a million things he can do in the life and the afterlife. That folks, that's about as on purpose.
A million things he can do in life and the afterlife. In life and the afterlife. In life and the afterlife. In life and the afterlife.
I mean, seriously, come on, people. Right? So the Buffalo Bills, we don't have any comments yet that I need to address. So I was like, well, let's take a look at 4/22, the Donnie Darko date. Well, it's 165 days. It's 165 days from April 20th, the abomination of desolation day 1 year before it. It's 165 days from April 20th. And this doesn't matter if it's a leap year or not. This is just any year. From April 20th to October 2nd, it's 165 days. Well, Trump was born on day 165. We say that with that 753. I have still yet to figure out what that 753 means. From Back to the Future, all those clocks are ticking 753. I don't know. So so he's born on day 165, but April 20th to the Donnie Darko date is 165 days. And then swinging around the other way, it's 200 days, or event 201. Now, if you want to include both dates, it's 166 days. That opens up the book of Revelation. Like if you include both days, it's 201, 66. Revelation is the 66th book in the Bible. But I just thought it was fascinating that it's now we were told, I was listening to something, that the new year begins in the Jewish religion in the spring. Jewish New Year begins in the spring. The first day of Nisan nowadays. But in biblical times period, that period was explicitly called the 7th month. During the first time period, 8th to the 2nd began on the first day of Nisan. Is the Jewish New Year in the spring, the first day of Tishri. Let me pause for a second. The real Jewish New Year is in the spring. Didn't read it this time. It read it. I wanted y'all to hear it read. Why is the Jewish New Year celebrated in autumn? The Torah says quite clearly that the first month of the year shall be in the spring, Exodus 12:2, which means Nisan, though it was originally called Aviv or spring, due to so on and so forth. So, and it was every single spring. It's this whole 165 beginning on April 20th. What day is Nisan 1, 2022? It's April 2nd. That's the Jewish New Year. It was every year something went down in the spring that changed my life or took me to the next level. Every year. Springtime. That's when the Lord turned me on to Know Your Enemy. It was about April 14th, I think it was, that I quit. It'll come up on my memories on Facebook. April 14th, I think it was, when I quit astrology, quit the Catholic Church from watching the series Know Your Enemy. Everything changed. Nobody could talk me out of astrology. All these Bible thumpers were coming up to me, telling me how evil astrology was, and I couldn't hear him. I watched that Know Your Enemies. Boom. That's what the Lord used. And in one day, I quit it all. And every year after that, it was like in the spring, things changed. Things changed. Actually, it began in Golly, began since the divorce, really. That seems like it's always been that way if I keep looking back at it. But, you know, in 2011, I learned about, let's just say I learned about men and women, all the stuff I didn't know. You're like, well, you learn the birds and the bees when you're a kid, not the real stuff, not the things that you should know at its deepest levels. And then the next year, Lord called me out of the world, springtime again. Showed me the truth in God's word that God doesn't love everybody. Springtime. It was around April, early May, late April, mid-April at the earliest. Just every year, springtime, there's a big defining moment. And so I'll be very curious at when my final springtime begins. On March 20th this year. But we have to look at this April 2nd thing. You know what I mean? Have to look at that. If we were to look at 2012 real quick, it was March 24th back then. Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. Because that's probably around the time I was talking to my friend Joey about watching the Know Your Enemy series. And then I started watching it. By the way, that's a 10.5-hour series. I've put it down in the description before, haven't I? Know Your Enemy full documentary. 10 hours, 45 minutes.
His army career and the end of his lifetime.
Ignatius Loyola. I'm going to tell you, that's the series that did it, that began it for me right there. That was it. I would just say to each and every one of you, I'll put it down in the description. Just check it out. You'll just be fascinated. I love the 88 down at the bottom, of course. Love how that's always there. The 22, the 88. How about that? The video that began this whole journey for me, did the Holy Spirit do that? Make sure that it had the 2022 and the 1988 calendars, that it had the 88 and the 22 on the views, the view. Can you just, I mean, what were the chances? That's text to Trump in reverse. 88022 22988. So a 9 instead of a 0 and flip them. Unbelievable. Another thing I wanted to drive home to y'all, the Antichrist is for us. The Great Tribulation is for the church. The Antichrist is for the church. Is he our best friend? No, he's the enemy. But you can't get your tribulation without him. He is the necessary evil. You cannot get your robes washed in blood or put on your white robes from going through the Great Tribulation without him, which most of the church is lost right now. Jesus said, I only came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Most of the church is lost. So being that in the 7 letters to the 7 churches, 2 out of 7 were not lost. I think as the book of Revelation is open and you go through the 4 horses, I believe 2/7 will be awakened. I don't think even 1/7 is awake right now. I mean, we look around, they all believe in free will. Everybody does. So right off the bat, you're lost. You got the wrong Jesus. You got the Jesus that loves everybody. That's the fake Jesus. Jesus doesn't love everybody. That's the truth. Jesus is the truth. If you've got the Jesus that loves everybody and that you claim him by free will, and that's part of the salvational process, then by proxy, you've got a false Jesus. You might as well be any other world religion you can put. They're all the same. The fake Jesus is the same as Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, the current system of Judaism. The fake Jesus, if you don't have the truth, if you don't have Jesus, Jesus is the truth, then you got the wrong Jesus. You got the wrong truth. So is 1% of the earth found sheep called sheep right now? I don't think so. I think it's a percent of 1%. But 2/7 through the Great Trib, 2/7, I believe, through the 4 horses will be awakened. And then the 5/7 will be awakened during the Great Tribulation. That's just a hunch based off what I see now, based off how I read the 7 letters. Five-sevenths will get the call at the abomination of desolation. In other words, when did they bear fruit? During their whole lives? Never. They're only bearing fruit running and screaming, running from fallen angels that are using the human body as an avatar to kill them. And you won't run far. You won't run far. I'll put this in the description. You'll love it. You know, the biblical doctrine part of it, just be careful with it. But as far as the rest, explaining all your secret societies, all the way from United Nations, all of that, very fascinating. And love the way at the beginning of the movie shows the devil as a woman. Right there.
Last days, when the Antichrist appears on the world stage, the Bible suggests he will have a handsome appearance.
Again, don't go with his biblical doctrine. But when he starts going through the secret societies and the United Nations and Alice Bailey and Ishtar and just everything, I just can't even tell you.
These were fruitful and multiplied greatly. They were absolutely vital. They had buckled every time.
Oh, plan A and plan B. That's an excellent one.
With him, and the wilderness, a place where they had to rely on him, even
Satan's plan A and plan B. I like that one. That one was good. All right, love y'all very much.